Welcome back, guys. So I said I was going to do a video on the true cosmology and show how pretty much everything, ancient cultures, signs and symbols, the secret societies and scriptures show us what the earth is. We're just looking at some of that information. Sorry, because I've been a bit out of it, distracted, busy. I've had to throw this together pretty in a short space of time, so hopefully, everything's laid out in a manner that, you can dissect it. And yeah, I'm going to let it roll now, so God bless. And this is mainly for those who are already aware of flat earth. Obviously I have a playlist on this channel which goes into a lot of the conditioning, deception through NASA, movies about the globe. That's not really what this video is about, like disproving the globe. This video is more about showing the fake, disproving the false model that Freemasons are giving us, and showing us the true model that aligns with the Bible and all ancient cosmologies of all our, ancestors from generations and millennia past. That it all aligns. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. God bless. All ancient cultures believe that we lived on a four-cornered earth, which aligns with scripture. Actually, you've probably heard a lot of verses in there, which I'm going to add in the four corners of the earth. And it's interesting because usually I'm one to come on here and teach a lot of metaphors, but in this instance it's quite the reverse. I'm actually, and people say that metaphorically, four corners of the earth, it's just to do with the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, but actually here I'm just going to do the opposite and tell you it's quite literal, that the four corners of the earth is literal, and God knows what he's talking about in his word, and that's put there on purpose. And the powers that be, the gatekeepers, know that, and their signs and symbology, and so do all ancient cosmologies. And what we observe definitely aligns with that. And what it aligns with is that we live in a prism, that it's not a dome over the top, like you see like on a snow globe, or we're given that picture of the pizza flat earth with a dome. With the luminaries inside of it rotating and changing their course, determining summer and the seasons. What we live in is a prism where the luminaries, including the sun and moon, are outside of it, and they are being projected in. And that's what you're seeing with the rainbow, right? Just like with a light prism, I'm going to attach a photo. When the light is sent through a prism, it separates the wavelengths, the different spectrums of light, and you can see the red, yellow, the blue, etc. That's what we are witnessing. We are witnessing a prism effect. So that tells us that the sun, the luminaries, are outside, being projected in. And what we are observing is a projection. That's why wherever you are, you will observe crepuscular rays coming through the clouds. That means they're going on all different angles. And that many have used to say it's a local sun right above us, but that wouldn't explain how if the sun is so local, it's light in the southern and northern hemisphere, so far away. You know, there's still day in the northern hemisphere as there is in the south. Even in summer or winter, they're still receiving the sun at such a far distance away. I'd call it a hemicube now. But the only explanation for that is that it's not as localized as we think. It's actually outside of the prism, and what we're observing is a projection, just being projected all throughout the earth, and it's giving us all sorts of different refraction, light refracting. So wherever you are, you're observing crepuscular rays. It's not 93 million miles away, what they tell us, but it's not what we're told with our model either. It is a projection, and we're seeing that crepuscular rays, that light refracting off it and going in all different angles, and lighting, you know, from the south, Australia, Tasmania, to Russia, all the way up in the north. We're seeing light, and that is because the projection is reaching that far. And depending on the season, depends on the intensity of that light in whatever given north or south part of the earth. So
It's all in your mind.
I'm going to give a lot of diagrams and explanation. There's going to be a lot of explanation in this video, which will help that statement, you know, give it a lot of weight, that we are seeing projection. And yeah, which we're also witnessing, as the Book of Enoch chapter 72 states, a portal system, which is that there's 6 portals on the eastern side of this prism, square earth, and there's 6 portals on the west, and that determines your seasons. So we are actually, those portals are outside of our realm, so we actually are seeing a sun ascending and descending on the west. It means they're not staying above the clouds rotating. We're actually seeing it rise above the prism, and that's why at moonrise and sunrise the moon seems so big. And then when it gets higher in the sky, it's much smaller. You'll notice that if you've watched a moonrise, that it's really big on the horizon when it's starting to rise, but then once it's high in the sky, you know, up above us, it shrinks, and that's to do with frequency of the light and how the light is being projected in, and the wavelengths. So on the angle as it's rising on the horizon, you're getting a much longer wavelength, a much larger scale moon. That's what you're observing. But then when it's high in the sky, the frequency is much shorter in wavelength, and you're seeing a much smaller moon. And this is to do with projection and frequency, and that is what we observe. That's the only thing that makes sense. And then we do see it set in the west. It goes below cloud level, and then it rises again on the east. So the only thing for that to make sense, for it to instantly set on the west and instantly rise on the east the next following day, the sun too, is that it works on that portal system that Enoch has described in 72, first book of Enoch by R.H. Charles. That is describing a portal system, and that is what we observe. And there will be observational evidence in here, which anyone can observe themselves, how the moon will not follow the course of the sun. The sun very steadily goes through those 6 portals and back, creating the seasons. But the moon is sporadic. It will jump every so-and-so new moon and certain weeks and months. It doesn't follow the same pattern as the sun. It jumps to a different portal. Sometimes it can jump as far as from the first portal to the 4th. And what you'll notice is for 7 days the moon will rise in the same spot, and then it'll jump. and it will change 30 degrees on the horizon. The next day it'll just jump 30 degrees and rise there. That is impossible unless it's jumping through portal system, as Enoch described, and he was shown the full cosmology by God in the beginning, and I'd take his word over anyone else's. So that is what we're witnessing. Portal system on a 4 squared earth. Without, the firmament is not like a snow globe or a dome, it's a prism. And what we see in all ancient cultures is the megaliths they built, whether it's the Aztecs, Mayans, over to the Egyptians, pyramids, all aligning to cardinal directions and constellations. And it is, what I'm saying is that they had knowledge from beings that came down and showed them what the earth really was. And these pyramids are to symbolize the earth, that it's a prism, it's 4-cornered square earth, and we live inside of it. So this is going to be an interesting video, and hopefully you guys enjoy it, and it opens your mind and it increases your faith that God knows God's word is 100% true. Not one word is falsely put in that Bible, and when he says the 4 corners of the earth, he means it. It's quite literal, and all ancient cultures agree, and all megaliths agree, and secret societies and their signs and symbols point to the same thing, and observation points to the same thing. So without no further ado, I'll introduce you. I'm going to leave links and tag the source material. This is coming from a brother in Christ, Richard Kallberg. He's an engineer, indoctrinated in the system, realized being lied to, came to flat earth, and then he left the model that we were given by the Masons to dig further into the truth, and this is where they came up with, and it definitely aligns a lot more solid with observation and scripture. But I'll leave you all to be the judges of that for yourselves, and God bless you. We'll get started.
So that's just to qualify. I mean, I am familiar with the circle model. You can check out my blog post here, just follow the links here, and you can see, I've come to understand that it's wrong, even though I wrote about it before. For anyone who's still struggling to get past the globe, it might be a good idea to read these posts still, even though they are the circle model. A lot of the material is still very relevant to understanding why the globe is wrong. So, for example, gravity, relativity, a lot of the stuff with, why the globe is wrong here, why it's not a ball. Some of the stuff with the sun, I mean, it's proving that the sun isn't 93 million miles away. Anyway, about me a little bit. So I'm the author of this page. My motivations for writing and studying. I'm not out to prove anything. I'm just looking for the truth. And I think this quote very much sums up my research. So I believe in evidence. I believe in observation, measurement, and reasoning confirmed by independent observers. I'll believe anything, no matter how wild and ridiculous, if there is evidence for it. The wilder and more ridiculous something is, however, the firmer and more solid the evidence will have to be. So I did believe in this model before, but I saw some evidence and moved on from it. I am a qualified engineer by education. This paper means nothing to me right now, but for anyone who wonders if I'm familiar with the globe and I haven't understood it, I mean, I hope this shows clearly that I've been through the indoctrination system, and I know how this globe, all that Newtonian physics is supposed to work. My approach is very simple. Truth is simple, very simple, so simple that a child can understand it. In fact, so simple that only a child can understand it. Unless you become a child again, you will not be able to understand it. I ask a lot of very simple, stupid questions and just look for simple answers, and I try to present things as coherently and clearly as I can. Lastly, the truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose and it'll defend itself. I'm not here to argue. This is just information. So, just soak it in. And so, in my introduction, just to set the stage a little bit, I wanted to show this meme here. What if I told you your beliefs don't make you a free thinker? The ability to change your beliefs based on new information does. If you're someone who believes ardently in this circle model, I ask you to just sit back, consider all the information I'm going to present, and then make up your mind once you've listened to everything. I'm not out to argue again. I'm just going to show you some information, and as a free thinker, you can make up your own mind with this information. Secondly, just to set the stage a little bit, I want to show you the quote by Sun Tzu. All warfare is based on deception. Therefore, when capable, feign incapacity. When active, inactivity. When near, make it appear that you are far away. When far away, that you are to lure him. Feign disorder and strike him. When he concentrates, prepare against him. Where he is strong, avoid him. Anger his general and confuse him. Pretend inferiority and encourage his arrogance. So this is very much what's been done with the circle model. Give your opponent the impression that they are closer than they really are. We've all found the earth is flat, but we've been given this model and we think that we're closer to the truth than we really are when we have this model. When we get past this model and the deception of it, there are so many more awesome truths to find, and this is what they're really gatekeeping. The flat earth, to me, it's a gate. It's not an ultimate truth. It's just the truth to learn and then move on. And I'll be discussing some of that stuff in future videos. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into this. So first of all, I'll cover the sun, 8 or 9 points. So the first point is considering the speed of the sun. So we're given these models. The Tropic of Cancer, the sun moves around here in the northern summertime, and then it spirals out and travels around the Tropic of Capricorn in the winter. So that looks very nice. But when we look at the numbers, we're given the circumferences, or the distance, what's called the radius of the Tropic of Capricorn and Tropic of Cancer right here. And using the formula for a circle, which is given right here, circumference of a circle is 2 pi times radius. So we have the radius of each of these lines, tropics, equator, and Capricorn. So we can find out the circumference just by some simple calculations. I did these in Excel for myself. Pretty straightforward. It's just radius times 2 times pi will give you circumference, and then you have the formula for speed. Speed equals distance times time, or divided by time. So you take circumference divided by time, and you get a speed in kilometers per hour. So the speed that we get is around about 2,000 kilometers per hour at the Tropic of Cancer, 2,700 around the equator, and over 3,000, around 3,300 at the Tropic of Capricorn. Let me get that up. So that's around 2,000 here and 3,300 here. When we do the math, just dividing this number, 3,300 by 1,936, we get a change of 70%. And if you have observed the sun in the sky, we never notice that the sun changes speed between winter and summer at 70% change, at that big a change. It seems fairly consistent speed. So this idea that the sun moves in this circle here in the summer, and a wider arch or circle in the winter is wrong. Doesn't match up with what we can observe. So second point, moving on. We'll often see the sun appearing under clouds. A quick Google search will show that. You see there's a video of a pilot here. He's flying above the clouds, and he sees the sun under the clouds. There's numerous videos like this. Lots of pictures. Sun's under the clouds, behind the clouds, under the clouds there again, behind the clouds. I mean, in the circle model, the sun is supposed to be 3,000 miles up, and circling round and round, but that's clearly not the case. These airplanes are not flying at 3,000 miles up; they're flying at 38,000 feet, more or less. So you can see that the sun is, in this video here, where the sun is below the clouds, we can see that the sun is clearly below 34,000 feet, probably even below 30,000 feet. So this idea that the sun is circling above 3,000 miles is, it's wrong. We can see that here. We're given, by some of the prominent circle flat earthers, we're told that there's some sort of atmospheric lensing or refraction going on to put the sun below the clouds, and sunlight under the clouds. But that's not right. We can see here that the sun is below the clouds. Also, another thing is to consider how fast, going back here, how fast 3,000 kilometers per hour is. If we 3,000 kilometers per hour. Speed of a fighter jet. If we compare it to things, a fighter jet travels at 2,500 kilometers per hour. So this is what we're talking about. When you see a fighter jet flying at the level of the clouds, it looks it looks super fast. Whereas when you see the sun moving, here, it looks almost stationary. It's obviously not moving at 3,000 miles per hour or kilometers per hour. So there's just numerous anomalies here with the maths. I mean, I'm not even stating opinion. This is simply maths. So thirdly, get into this. So the third proof is that the sun rises in the southeast in the southern hemisphere. This is more or less what you see when you're in Chile. Same in Australia. Sun rises in the southeast. And obviously if the sun on the circle is coming from, traveling in a circle that's coming from the northeast for Australia, that's just not what they see down under, so as they say. Same in Chile. I mean, the reason why this works as a deception is because most of the world's population live in the northern hemisphere, or so-called hemisphere. So 90% of the world's population is north of the equator. So there's a very good chance that the majority of the flat Earth community will support the north-centric azimuthal equidistant model based on observations, because we'll see the sun coming from, in the US you'll see it coming from a slightly southern, northern, it changes angle, so it makes some sense in the northern hemisphere, but it falls apart completely in the south. I'll get into the correct one later, but this is debunking this circle. I mean, it doesn't work. It obviously doesn't work. Sunrises here, it's not compatible with this map. So fourth point has to do with eclipses. Now we're told by flat earthers that this is the way it happens. The sun moves around, comes around, and then overlaps perfectly with the moon. Now the problem with this is that eclipses, if this was the actual mechanism for it, it should happen way more often than it does. And the last total eclipse was in 1979. This should happen every year. So this just doesn't compute. secondly, to do with eclipses, you'll notice here how they show the sky going black, when the sun overlaps. But that, when we look at the flat Earth dome, here, if the sun, if the moon's blocking it, there should still be light from behind. This should still be light. The sun is still inside this place. So, I mean, the fact that the sky goes dark when there's an eclipse suggests that there's the sun is outside some sort of sky, and getting projected in. If there's something getting blocked to block all light, because it's literally just goes completely dark. I mean, you look at solar eclipses. They're completely dark. The sky just it gets dark, and that's just not what that just it's not compatible with this model again. The sky should remain blue, but even though the sun should be like this, a black disk around the sun, but then the sky should still be blue if the sun is inside dome. So that idea. So another point with the eclipses, I just want to make sure, make it clear, eclipses are, it's not solid objects, one getting in front of the other like we're told in the flat Earth. It's a magnetic effect. So two magnetic fields merging to one, the reciprocating processional hyperboloids become one solid ring of light. This is something that can be replicated, scientifically. Scientific method, observation, measurement, and repetition. It's going to be replicated in a lab, and this is exactly the effect we see. So here we have another one. When two electromagnetic vectors combine inertia in counterspace, it leaves a ring of light. I mean, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but if you watch people like Ken Wheeler on YouTube, Theory Apophysis is his channel. You can watch this stuff. I mean, it's obviously magnetic.
Underneath the supercell, right at the center here, of course, we see this black spot of dielectric acceleration. Of course, the magnetic geometry is that of a torus, or a donut shape. Here you can see the donut shape of the toroidal geometry of the magnetic field around the magnet here on the right, and same here on the left. The reason why this black hole, literally, on this magnet is so large is because it's incredibly powerful.
Someone filmed the eclipse while it was going on from above the clouds, or this was from an airplane. I mean, it's not what we're told. The moon is not involved in blocking the sun. It's something completely different, because you can see the moon here and the sun. It's not what we're told. Yeah, I mean, another example of why this is magnetic. I mean, this is what you get when you put a magnet on an LCD screen. I'll get into the television set in another post because it's very interesting. Has to do with the sky, but this is magnetic. It's not a solid disk. Moon getting in front of the sun. It's something completely different. So I mean, this eclipse thing goes to show that the sun isn't inside the dome. As we're told. And also another point, which I also covered in my blog around here, with the journeys of these guys here, Captain James Cook, James Clark Ross, Ranulph Fiennes, Amundsen and Scott. These are all Freemasons. What they've written in their journals about their distances, 60,000 miles around the ice wall and stuff. We shouldn't trust any of this. I also discussed in this blog post Admiral Byrd, and if you watch his interview here in front of this map, I mean, this is a psyop. They want you to believe in this map, and they put him out here to talk about a landmass, that's unexplored. And if you watch this interview, you'll see him checking his notes all the time. He'll be looking off screen all the time. All the questions asked by the interviewers are scripted. I mean, it's a complete scripted affair, that whole interview. And sitting in front of this map, I mean, it's all made to steer the narrative for flat earthers towards this map. Remember this guy, as I've shown in this blog post, Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. He is a Freemason, 33rd degree. There's some details there. You can also find them on Google if you search for him and Freemason. So all this stuff with Antarctica and ice ring and explorers settling around and stuff. I mean, those are all of these guys are Freemasons, and they have different agendas, obviously, as anyone who's researched proof of this. The Padmanabhaswamy Temple in India, on the autumnal equinox, when the sun passes directly over the equator, there's this building here. You see, it'll pass in a straight line, and it passes right through. This shows that the sun is traveling in a very straight line. And to state the obvious, the sun, if it's traveling in a circle, I mean, it would basically have to, be coming at like an angle, a circle. There's no way it could travel straight. So this temple right here is proof that this circle model is wrong. It's proof because the sun never travels in a straight line on this circle model, and yet it travels in a straight line on the equinox here. So this temple itself is already proof. You don't need anything else. Just use this temple. It's proof that the sun travels in a straight line at equinox, and that debunks the circle. So first of all, stars. They're not what we're told. Anyone who's used a camera, I've used a Canon camera, very powerful, to look at the stars, and this is what you see when you zoom in on cameras. It looks like sound, light, vibrations, nothing like the solid objects we're told. So I mean, most flat earthers who've looked at stars will have realized this already. But I think there's another element to it that that's even more awesome, and that's to do with projection. What we see is simply a projection of something that's behind in the firmament. So going back to the eclipse, how we can see that the sun is actually getting blocked. The projection of the sun is getting blocked outside, which is why everything goes dark inside. Everything goes black. If the sun was actually inside getting blocked off by some disk, moon or something, then it would still stay light, but it gets completely blocked off, which suggests that it's getting projected from the outside. And that's the same with stars.
It's all in your mind.
Example, going line by line, we can map out. I'm going to get into this in more detail in other videos. I don't want to get sidetracked too much here, but we can go line by line for April, 4th gate for 30 days, and then precisely division of 10 parts and night 8 parts. And so it spends April in the 4th gate, and it goes on and on and on here to outline every single month, and it shows the sun moving by gate. So this is, what the gates actually look like. When you observe it in the sky, is like this. This would be gate 1, rising in this place. Gate 2, gate 3, gate 4, gate 5, gate 6, rising and moving towards you basically on the screen. So just to give you another example here, if it's over here on one night, gate 3 for example, the next night it would jump over to gate 6. This is something you can find, outlined in chapter 72 in very great detail, and I'll get into this in more detail in other videos, but the point that I want to make here, and I want to stress, is that this model, the circle model for the Enoch's gates, is not what we observe. What we observe is that the sun or the moon goes back and forth every month. So it could be rising in this gate here on 1 week, and then the next week it'll jump to this gate and then back. Whereas on the circle model, the moon and the sun are going around in the spiral. They're not actually jumping back and forth. So the moon does not follow the same path as the sun. This is what we can observe in the sky by watching the moon rise. So the moon actually swings north and south, making a full swing in a lunar month and returning back to the sun's position on the new moon, which would be gate 4. This map is not the actual accurate map. The sun, however, does a similar swinging motion, but it takes a full year to complete the swing. So that's what you see here. The sun goes from gate 4 to gate 6 to gate 1 and back to gate 4. The full year, back and forth swinging. The moon does that every month. The sun does that every year. So it's very obvious when you read through chapter 71 that it's incompatible with the circle. What we're told with by these guys. I mean, I'm not meaning to call them out or anything, but what they're teaching is wrong. And if you're, I was teaching wrong stuff and I moved on, and I've spoken to these guys on Facebook. They refuse to look at what I'm showing them. So they're obviously teaching something that's that's false, even though they know about it, which should be cause for concern. But so the point I wanted to make here, just to hammer this home more, you have 6 gates going line by line. You have the 6 gates of the moon. You have 6 gates for the sun here as well. The rising of the sun. They're always on a level. I'll be going into this in more detail, but all of this text here is not consistent with this circle. This circle is a lie, and it doesn't match scriptures, doesn't match physical evidence, doesn't match what we can see. So it's just this formation. Jumps here. It's like a gear system. I should cover. Oh yeah, this is the next point. So actually, on the gates, I want to show you the moon jumps here. It's like a gear system. Enoch is a technical guy. He's an engineer. His book needs to be read like an engineer. And the gate jumps. It's like the 6 keys or 6 pins in a lock, or 6 gears in a car. It's electromagnetic jumps. It's a really complex clockwork system. But again, the point is that this which you can observe for yourself by watching the moon rise on the horizon, as close to the horizon as possible or over a landmark. You watch it every day, and you'll watch that the schedule matches perfectly with what Enoch says, and it disproves the idea that Enoch's gates could work on the circle map. And so the first point is this map here. This is circumstantial evidence, obviously, but this is the map that we're supposed to, we're given here, and we have been given it. I mean, we were given it by the United Nations, which is the New World Order headquarters, essentially, the world government. And the curious thing about this map is that there's 33 sections, and anyone who's covered, in my blog, I've covered the 33 in a lot of detail. Well, anyway, 33. So this 33 here, Order Out of Chaos, it's the hoax code. In all of their false flags, they put 33 all over the place. In number plates, on bus numbers, on train numbers, you name it. You can check out my News by the Numbers, and you can find that in the header of my website. But 33 is a hoax code. So the fact that it's on this map tells you that this map is a hoax. It's wrong. And so for people to say that, look, this map is the correct map because it's on the UN map, it's false. It's there as a red herring. So that's that point. So the 13th point on my list is the Gleason map, which is the one here you see here, which has commonly become accepted as the map of flat Earth. There are a lot of problems with this, apart from the fact, the stuff that we talked about so far, but the actual map itself, the production of it, and the symbolism. I mean, anyone who follows my blog, News by the Numbers, will know how, I like to decode things by the numbers, and, symbolism, the language of Freemasonry is symbolism. They don't use languages. Since the Tower of Babel, they don't, languages were confounded, so they turned to symbols instead as their language. So this is what they use. And I mean, I haven't really organized this very well here, but I don't want to, go on this too much. Maybe I'll make a separate video on it. But the G in Gleason's, G is 33 from Freemasonry. They have that on the Freemason logo. A lot of numerology, JS Christopher 69, JSC 32, like the double-headed eagle 32, Shriners. You have a lot of numbers here. This college here, Modern College, if you Google it, actually we can do that now. Modern College, Blackheath. This is what we get. There is no modern college, there's just an elderly home with Masonic symbolism. Their logo here. This is what we get. So the idea that this college made in Blackheath, England, doesn't exist. I looked for it. I spent an hour looking for it, couldn't find it. Not even in history books. So this is just a fairy tale from an elderly home. This company here, Buffalo Electrotype and Engraving, they aren't actually a map maker. They make one other map, which is this one here, which I think was just, they made a second map just to give legitimacy to the first map, when the first one was just a fake as well. This logo here is riddled with numbers. You have the 13 here, weird point sticking out, 13. You have 666, 666 again here. You have the 666 here, 666 here, 666 right here. You have the 911 digits and the year it was made. So you have the 1892 digits for the other map. You have 911 digits on this map as well, the second map. They only made two maps. I mean, this company, it's I mean, look at the map first. Well, it was found in, there's a stamp, Boston Public Library. The stamp is made on the 33 point here. Could have put it anywhere, but they put it on 33. The Boston Public Library is just a 16-minute walk from the Grand Lodge of Masons in Massachusetts. And in Boston, this is also just 20 minutes from Harvard, which is notorious for secret societies, including the Owl Club. So I mean, this is, Boston Public Library, close to this. I mean, a lot of Masonic symbolism on it. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that it's just a plant by Freemasons to, push this circle map. But number 20 is what's known as the green flash. So I'll show you a video of this. See, I'll speed this up. You'll see it's go green, right at the top here. It goes green. I'll slow that down. So watch here. It's going green. You see that getting green? That's to do with frequencies. and how light is projected. So light's getting projected in here, as we talked about with the eclipses. And you see how it's red, orange, yellow, green? It's a different light band. So this diagram will show that quite clearly. You have the higher frequency light, yellow, orange, red, and green. So when the sun sets, it's actually changing frequency. And so this proves that the sun, as it speaks about this in Enoch as well, the sun descends on a level and ascends as well. So it's actually lowering and rising at the west and the east. So this is something we can see in Japan. The sun goes up. You can see it below the clouds. You can see, you get this effect in the US as well, where the sun is below the clouds as well and shines on the underside of clouds. Again, sun going under the clouds in the west, going above, going up from under the clouds to above the clouds in the east. So we'll cover that a bit more in future videos, but hopefully that makes this clear. The frequency, the sun is actually getting lower on the horizon. It's changing its light, the angle it's getting projected in at, changing its frequency. This is also suggesting that light is getting refracted, transmitted through a prism of some sort. Here's a better picture of it. This proves that the sun again isn't at 3,000 miles up. It's actually going below the clouds, and it's a very visual proof you can see for yourself. In this video here, you can see that again. What's going on. You see the green here. It's getting refracted through some sort of lens or prism. But we're going to get through that in more detail in another post. So I wanted to talk about the Freemasonic logo now for a minute before I wrap things up. So you'll notice here, attention to detail. What you'll notice here is that the square is behind the circle. So it's, in a way, it's in. The square is in the circle. I'll get into the shape a bit more later, but if we look at scriptures, in Revelation 7:11, we see, and after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth. So the earth has 4 corners. Isaiah 11:12 also talks about 4 corners of the earth. A model that we're often given is something like this, with the 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth. The 4 winds is something that Enoch talks about, and they aren't the south. All of these are south, right? East would be around the circle, east and west would be around. So you can't have the east wind, you can't have the west wind. Whereas Enoch talks about 4 winds being the cardinal directions, east, in chapter 75. So the 4 winds, the angels holding the 4 winds in the corners like this, just doesn't make sense. So that model, it's a big write-off. So shifting our attention to Isaiah 40:22, which is often used by flat earthers to show that this circle map is correct. It states, "It is he that sits..." Let me close this. "It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in." So he sits upon the circle. If God's sitting above the dome, he's not sitting on, like literally on the circle. So I've got an alternative, which is based on the Book of Enoch, which we're going to get into a lot more, which is right here. He sits enthroned above the circle of the earth. The circle is the firmament, spherical firmament, and its people are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. So this satisfies the four corners, and it also satisfies the circle upon which God sits. I'm going to leave you with final point, which is this. The truth in plain sight. This is actually showing our cosmology, but it's misrepresenting something right here. But that's another story. This is consistent with the multiple moons, which Enoch talks about. We have that here. The names of the sun are these: one Aries and the other Thomas. The moon has four names: Asonia, Ebla, Benes, and Eri. This is not something you can see in the circle model, where there's just one moon. So for people like Zen to say that this Enoch matches with the circle model, it doesn't. This is a very clear example, because the moon, there's four moons and there's two suns. These are the orbs projected. But there's a lot more to be spoken about this model. But this was meant to be just a first debunking of the circle, and then we'll get into the Enoch cosmology later. So that was truth in plain sight. So in conclusion, just to lead into future videos, I showed you the square and compass here. How the square is actually behind the compass, so it's almost like they're saying the square is in the circle, which then led us into looking at the scriptures of the squares, which is within the circle of the earth, which is the truth hidden in plain sight, the square within the circle. Hello and welcome, and thank you very much for checking out this video. So today we're going to cover ancient cosmologies and the four corners of the earth. This will relate to the cosmology you see pictured on the screen, which is outlined in the Book of Enoch in great detail. The cosmology is also found hidden in plain sight on the dollar bill. So to give you an idea of what we're going to cover, first we're going to look at some ancient cosmologies from around the world, looking at examples from different civilizations and cultures in different places all over the earth. Next we're going to look at some models featuring four quarters, also from around the world. And finally we're going to look at how Enoch's cosmology is represented in popular culture, including in some movies as well as some prominent board games, which will lead us into some interesting material. All the music used in this video will be listed in the description, and I also humbly encourage you to share and mirror and copy or redistribute anything that I post on this my YouTube channel, as well as on my website, The Narrow Gate, thenarrowgateweb.com. So you have my permission to share it, and I very much thank you for that. Very much appreciated. Without further ado, let's get started. So first we're going to cover some ancient cosmologies, which you see listed here. I'm just going to go down the list one by one, and note that the pace of this section is going to be relatively slow, so you have a chance to see and soak in all the images and cosmologies that you see on the screen. So it'll be mainly just pictures and less of me talking. So let's get into this. So first of all, we have the Mayan cosmology, which shows 4 quarters within spherical heavens. We have the Navajo model, which is very similar. We have the Sumerian model, which also features a pyramid with steps. Babylonian and pre-Babylonian models, which likewise feature pyramids with steps within a spherical heaven. William Warren, an author of several notable books on ancient cosmology, wrote the following about Babylonian and pre-Babylonian cosmology. Considering the fact that in the cosmology of the ancient Egyptians, Persians, Indians, and Chinese, we find the same strange notion that while the terrestrial horizon is everywhere circular, the Earth is nevertheless foursquare, I was recently, after years of mental resistance, brought to the full conviction that the 7-staged pyramid was the form under which the Babylonians and even their Sumerian predecessors conceived of the earth, considered as the abode of the living men. We have the Egyptian model, which features 4 corners and a celestial sky that's circular. Along with, of course, pyramids that are built according to cardinal directions. have Indonesian temples, which are built with square bases and circular tops to resemble the square earth and circular heavens. We have the Chinese cosmologies, which also have a square in the middle and a circle on the outside. Same goes with the Japanese cosmology. Vedic and Hindu cosmologies are very similar. And as you can see from the Kala chakras, there's a square within a circle. This is similar to the Tibetan cosmology. As well as the Mongolian cosmology. And the Nepalese cosmology. Another model is the Nordic cosmology, Yggdrasil, which, although it shows a spherical model, circle, you can see on the second image that it could be depicted as having four corners. This depiction is very similar to a biblical model of as a throne with a firmament on top. That's two inverted pyramids. In the Bible, we also see Ezekiel's temple described as having four sides, like a square. And in 2 Kings, we see a description of the steps of Ahaz, which describes the sun rising according to steps on a pyramid. usually depicted like this. Models like that, however, forget two very important verses. Many point to Isaiah 40:22 as evidence that the earth is a circle, but that verse too is misrepresented. Another cosmology with an uncanny resemblance to Enoch's cosmology is the Greek or ancient Hellenic cosmology, which also features a spherical top heaven as well as a vault of heaven resting on pillars above a flat earth. This other sketch of the biblical earth by an unknown artist also shows the earth with four corners with a pyramid or mountain in the middle, with the luminaries revolving around the circular heavens above. The pyramid or mountain we see in the middle of the earth in that model can also be found in the model of the earth resting on a turtle, which originates from India and China. The model of the earth resting on a turtle is something of a running joke among the flat earth skeptics, but something that goes completely unnoticed even by flat earthers is the prominence and importance of the pyramid in the middle of the earth, which resembles many other cosmological models we've seen so far. So as we've seen so far, the ancients were clearly in agreement that the earth was square with circular heavens. What lends even more credibility to this is the fact that many megalithic structures built by the ancients with square bases are perfectly aligned to the motion of the luminaries. Needless to say, the ancients were clearly far more intelligent than most give them credit for. Next, we also have plenty of cosmologies that, although they don't show the full cosmology, they do depict four quarters. So we have the Aztec Codex Vijavari, first of all. Then we have the Aztec calendar, or so-called calendar, which seems to be more like a map of the heavens, which also has four corners. See depictions of four corners on charts by the Aborigines as well. the symbol for Earth is 4 quarters within a circle. And we also see 4 quarters depicted by the Templar cross, which is very prominent with some of the rulers of this earth who sit at the Vatican. We also see this cosmology depicted in movies, such as Game of Thrones, with a pyramid surrounded by a ring. And we also see it in the movie The Wrath of the Titans. So there's also some board games in contemporary culture. Ludo is a very old game that's been around for a long time that shows a very clear depiction of a square with a pyramid in the middle. Monopoly is also a square where people go around. Chess is one of the oldest games. There's a lot of symbology with the 8x8, the 88. But chess has been around for a long time and is very symbolic in Freemasonry with the black and white checkerboards, the symbol of duality of this earth, and it's depicted in the game of chess.
And to end this video, I will say that Brother Richard, I after he made all these videos, he stopped releasing content a while ago, and a lot of people were worried about him. I reached out to him on Facebook, and pretty much he decided to let everything go, all this go, and focus on family and his walk with Jesus Christ, you know, his faith, and the creator of this magnificent realm. And this video was just to show truth. And it's not to, you know, I will say that it's more important, just as Richard realized, to focus on our spiritual journey with the Lord, the creator of this magnificent realm, cosmos, and everything that exists, who is Lord of glory. It's more important to focus on our spiritual walk with him than to be following, you know, spending all our time distracted in these issues. But this is just a one-off video for those eager to know the truth about this realm and how it works, to just strengthen your faith in God and the scripture, that it is word for word what the Bible tells us. And hopefully from here on out, you know, your walk is strengthened. You focus on the Lord Jesus as we live in the last days. And once we endure and overcome all mysteries, the cosmos, everything will be revealed to us once this life ends. But in this life, it's really more about sorting out our own spiritual journey and walk with God and getting our hearts right with God. But it is good on a side note to know what the true cosmos is and have the right model, just to avoid deception. You know, the truth will always prevail. So that's what this video is about. And from here on out, I hope you focus on the Lord Jesus, and that this encourages you guys. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to link all Richard's YouTube, because credit goes where credit's due. And I just stumbled upon this stuff and I agree with it. And but hopefully, yeah, like both of us, you spend your time what left on this earth focusing on Jesus. But now you know what the earth is. So, you know, God bless you. Much love. Shalom.